All right, we're looking at this book here. The first boxers. We got cut off because of ran out of time. But you were saying something about like the armored chariot warriors would fight each other in front of their armies.
That's going to encourage some form of full contact blunt training. It is demonstrated amongst the Egyptian soldiers fighting before the Pharaoh after the Hyksos rebellion, which were the chariot people. So it was after the introduction of the chariot into Egypt. The soldiers are shown fighting with reeds and boxing. So in the 1200s in northern Italy, when small shield and sword dueling was common, there was, I think it was Saint Bernard. There was a Catholic priest that promoted boxing instead of dueling. Alfred the Great in 900s in England, that king promoted ancient style boxing instead of dueling amongst his housecarls. So this is a common solution to when your soldiery and mainly your officers killing each other in duels, and also preparing them for duels, because even though the forensics are different in boxing than they are in dueling with a blade, boxers adapt very well to using a shield, particularly a smaller shield in combat. And the shield is the most important part of the ancient weapon panoply. The weapon combination spear, shield, and sword. The glue in there is the shield. It's the most effective overall weapon. It's offensive and defensive. And it can knock your head off your shoulders if you get punched with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, pretty much. If you're gonna fight with weapons and your life and your thing is on the line, you're gonna use a shield. It's like it goes without saying. You don't use shields when things get a little different socially, and you only have a small sword, of course, later.
Right.
But a shield is always good to have.
And my original clue to that was the posture of, I could demonstrate it right here, the earlier Greek boxers in the classical period boxed like this.
Oh, yeah.
They used a lot of hammer fists. They would use this as kind of like a shield, and you would see hammer fists. So this is very close to using the shield here and stabbing over it with a spear.
All right, so real just to wrap this up, because we ran out of time before. Obviously, the ancient boxing, they didn't clinch, right?
That was against the rules. So rules were enforced by beatings.
Right.
The judge would have a rod. He would beat you until you stopped breaking the rules. So if you wanted to hang on to the guy, you could do that as long as you wanted to, but you're getting hit with a stick on the back the whole time.
All right, so of course we talked about the Asian, right? We talked about like Chinese boxing, right? The idea of like it's a lot of it's wrestling. I think a lot of like Wing Chun and the Southern styles. Obviously, a lot of Wing Chun stuff is like you could do stuff with a punch. Really, you would have a blade in your hand doing a lot of those things, in my opinion. But what about Muay Thai? Muay Thai doesn't seem to come out of the Chinese sphere. Where do you think that? I mean, maybe it's out of the purvey of this, but Muay Thai is very different than any Chinese-based sort of thing.
There's a theory that Savate in France came from sailors coming back from Thailand and Burma. I really don't know anything about the deep history of that. Okinawan tea, what the hand part of karate. Okinawan tea was apparently an indigenous art. It seems like it was more normal for people that lived on islands to develop a boxing tradition, and you could see it with Great Britain. Right. The Mortlock Islanders had that was in Micronesia, had a boxing tradition. The Okinawans had a boxing tradition. I really don't know if the Burmese and Thai boxing traditions are indigenous or if they're borrowed possibly from India or possibly from southern China. I
Yeah,
don't have
it
any
just
idea.
seems so different.
There is since Buddhism does not develop until after the Greek intervention in India,
Right.
since it does not develop until after that, and then Buddhism does not stay in India,
Right.
but is then transported to China, and it is connected. And according to Asian martial arts historians, the introduction of Buddhism into China is connected with the introduction of the martial arts. There's been some theories that this was an extended Greek influence and had something to do with Pancratian, but according to the ancient sources, the people in India, again, descended from the Aryan chariot invaders, were already practicing a form of boxing when the Greeks got there. So my theory is that your Chinese boxing probably comes from the same source as Indian and European and Egyptian boxing, which is the widespread of chariot warfare and dueling about 1800 BC.
See, that's interesting. That's an interesting theory. And all right, well, that was pretty cool. This book was cool. All the covers.
It's a cool subject. The weirdly androgynous.
Yeah, whatever.
Joseph Belafato.
We're all adults here.
Joseph Belafato described this as a weirdly androgynous.
It's an ancient decadent civilization about to be wiped out.
By a volcano.
Right. Right.
And this kid getting his brains beat out apparently didn't save the island.
Interesting, yeah, but it's very interesting, this stuff. Look at all the cool you got. This was a scholarly work, I must say.
1998 to 2010 was
Damn.
what the boxing project took.
It's like another bloody planet now. And you get the maps. And Gilgamesh, right? Gilgamesh, there was boxing, I think, in it.
There was wrestling in Gilgamesh, which in the Middle East is the obvious antecedent to boxing, and the connection with Gilgamesh is shown in the Golden Bowl of Hansan Lu, where there is an earthly king boxing a god that is in a chariot that's got a crocodile under it.
I remember that. The dragon is on here.
Right, that's from a small golden bowl that was about 1100 BC, in the period when iron is first being introduced by the Hittites. Now, and that illustration invokes the struggle between Gilgamesh and Enkidu and the gods. The gods come down to punish Gilgamesh for defeating the bull of heaven and Humbaba, the forest guardian.
Where's that picture? I remember that picture was kind of cool. It looked like something out of like a friggin'...
It was a really weirdly stylized. I think it's going to be more in the front, probably on about page 50, something like that, because I think it's like a 40-page introduction. So it's going to be around the Gilgamesh. It'll be...
Oh. It's just as a surreal, crazy. It looks like something out of like a I don't know, like a live action Japanese show from the 70s or something.
Okay, that's the first picture of warfare we have. Morena, a cave in Spain.
The spine. Yeah.
Where you can see where these guys are hunting each other with bows and arrows. That was okay. So we're into the Mesopotamian. So this looks like Mesopotamian Pancratian. This is all in wrestling. This isn't just throwing.
Okay.
Okay. So in this chapter, this is two Mesopotamian warriors boxing.
Right.
This is an Ilisu drum behind them. So these guys would probably box while a drummer drummed. This is Gilgamesh and Enkidu and defeating the forest demon and the bull of heaven. And the forest demon looks a little bit like a lion, which makes a lot of sense.
Oh, this is the one right here.
This is the illustration from the Golden Bowl of
You want these hands?
Lu.
You want these hands, son? You want these hands?
Right. This is obviously the Italian guy,
Yeah.
and the Wasp is up here
Oh.
in his Model T Ford.
Dragon Boxer. All right. Okay. Man, that's pretty cool. All right. So, this is actually going to be 2 vids. So, very cool. All right, man.